Hi, Yvonne Roberts here again, and I wanted to show you a day at our farm where we do milk tests. We do milk tests every month. They come in the morning or at night, night and morning, 12 hours apart. And we have a milk tester come, and they take samples of our milk, and they send it off to the lab, and they check for butter, fat, and protein. So there's several reasons that we do this. One, it gives you an estimate of how much your goat milked for the year. You also find out your percent of butter fat and your percent of protein every month, because that changes as they progress. It will usually get higher percent, and also then how many pounds of butter fat and how many pounds of protein you estimate, as how much your goat had all year. Normally when I milk into a stainless steel bucket, and for the people milk, for people, I pour it into this, which I hang on the other bucket. But for milk test purposes, we have to use 2 buckets, and I have already checked this weights to 0 with the bucket on it, and the milk tester will also check before I do the first milking to make sure that's 0. And with our scale being a standard dairy scale, Stewart scale, you have to look at it square. So if you're off a little bit, it'll change the weight. So this type of scale, you have to look at it straight on to see what the weight is. And it is marked in tenths, which is what the milk testing paperwork means, is tenths. So the milk tester is going to, I'm going to milk the goat, and the milk tester is going to look at the weight and mark it on the paperwork. And the paperwork has each goat, and they have a number, a chain number, and that is the number on their collar. We keep a number on their collar, and the first time the tester comes to our farm, the very first time that she's never tested here, she always checks the tattoos to the paperwork to the number tag for their name and number tag. Then they don't have to do it again. If I add a new goat, they have to check that tattoo to that goat's paperwork. That tells the tester the one with that number on her chain matches the paperwork, so that they can mark it on here, and it'll be for that goat. And then after we weigh the milk and she marks it down, and we're going to mix it, and she's going to use this ounce dipper to a little ladle, and this is all stainless steel, and so it'll last forever. And she's going to dip some out, and she's going to put it in one of these samples, which I've already got labeled with the name and the number. And she's going to put it in there, shake it up. It's got preservative in it already. And then this is what she's going to mail to the lab. And she's going to take a sample this test, and then in 12 hours take another sample. And it'll mix the 2. They all go in the same bottle. So and then I use these for the purpose of milk testing, and at fair, I don't mind putting it in plastic if it's going to be for animals. So, and since we're mixing it all together, and I can't separate I like to separate the lower somatic cell count milk to be able to save for people. So during milk tests, it all goes to animals, so I can put it all in these handy plastic gallon jugs, makes it really easy, and I can put them in the fridge that way and strain it, put it in the fridge. And that way that's for animals, for baby goats, bottle calves. We have pigs right now. The pigs are getting almost all the milk. Anything we don't drink usually goes to pigs. Our chickens love milk, cats and dogs get it. Right now the pigs are getting all our access. One of the other things I wanted to point out while I was here was my board here, my dry erase board. This changes throughout the year. I use it for keeping records of things I do. And right now we're in breeding season. So this is November, just so you know. So when my goat comes in later, she's not going to have very much milk. But I made a list of who was going to be bred to who, and this is the list of who's bred, the date they were bred. So Sprinkles, actually, I haven't caught her in heat. She's not showing any signs of heat, so I put her in with the buck, and I put her in on the 22nd of October. She's going to stay in there for at least 3 weeks. And then hopefully I'll see something. So far we haven't, but you never know. But we're hoping that she's going to breed. And so that's why she's still up there. Daisy is our injured doe. We've shown her in another one of the videos. And the vet says next heat we can breed her. So she's going to be my last one bred. And then we have 2 retired does, Exstar and Bon Bon, that they will not get bred. So when I finish this, this is Daisy's last heat. So that helps me track her next heat. And then Daisy will be over here, and I'll put the 2 retired does underneath. And then as I trim their hooves, I put marks next to their names. So I still have to do legacies. And then I have to come down here and do these and do sprinkles and Exstar and Bon Bon. Daisy's already done. And then I'll wipe all those off and I'll start over and mark them again. And that way, since I don't trim all the hooves in one day, that way I keep track of whose hooves are trimmed, and I will try to do them in basically this order. And so now that I've got this list, I changed them, and we're going to start doing this order, and they'll be that way until next year when we change the order again. So, and then when Daisy's bred, I'll erase this, and then we'll have, this is when their due date is, when they kidded, how many bucks and does they have, and I'll mark that off as they progress. So I wanted to share that with you. And I also have my washcloth buckets over here. I don't, so just that has wet washcloths in here. And when I use them on the dough to wipe the udder off, I drop them in one in the back. So those are different things that shows you everything that's here, I think, and gives you a little idea. And we'll have more when the milk tester gets here, and we'll show the actual test. This is my milk tester, Cindy, and she is checking the scale to make sure it's right. Okay, and
0's on 0.
All right, so we will bring in Miss Kitty.
Come on, Miss Kitty. Early 9:23.
Up. Oh, she sees the camera.
So first I check the scale to make sure it's 0 where 0 is, and then I write down the time that Yvonne is starting her milking. On the start time on my form, it's military time, so at night, if it's 9:22, I would add 12, which makes it 21:22.
Okay, and this is Miss Kitty. She's a first freshening 2-year-old. I think she is in heat today. There's always something for milk test. That's my thing today, is we have a doe come in heat. So I'm going to wash her down. I'm going to use this bucket. We'll get her milked. Now I'm going to massage her a little bit, make sure all the milk's out. And from this point on, I filled the paperwork out, but I don't touch it again. And I don't touch the sample bottles. It's all the milk tester from this point.
And this is Miss Kitty.
Yep, this is Miss Kitty. Okay, this is where the 2 buckets come in. This is how we mix it. And they say 3 times, but we always pour it back into that bucket, the original bucket, because that is the one that we've already zeroed out on the scale.
And I take the bottle with the goat's name on it. I make sure with Yvonne that I have the right goat, and I have written down the correct weight. And then I take a sample, fill the bottle halfway.
And that's all there is to doing each goat. There's a lot with the paperwork, but that's how we actually do the milk testing. Okay, so Cindy's gone home, And as you can see, she takes all the paperwork, she takes the sample bottles all with her. After we start, I no longer am allowed to touch anything. And we've got my milk, and I'll be hauling everything in, but I hope you understood what we did. There's a lot more involved in the paperwork. The does, when we do, this is called standard milk test, where a tester comes out every month and does the test at my house. And there are rules, like they can't be related, they can't have anything to do financially with my herd. There's different stipulations. They have to go to tester training to be trained and certified. It can't just be somebody just doing it. So there are different stipulations, and there's a lot to the paperwork. You can earn what they call star M for your does, and it also gives credit to the sire of the doe and the offspring of the doe. So there's different things. It basically shows if they milk enough milk and protein, butter, fat. If they not milk enough, then they can earn these stars, and it can give them, things on their papers, permanent record. So there are other benefits, but it also, as I said earlier, it shows you how much your doe milks. So for advertising purposes or for your information, it shows your butterfat percent, your protein percent. So there are multiple reasons. I also mentioned the somatic cell count. You get a monthly somatic cell count, which is dead cells in the milk. It shows if the cell count goes up, it tends to mean that there's a problem with their health or mastitis, something that's triggering that. So you can watch that. And it also, your healthiest milk to drink has the lower somatic cell count. So there's a lot of different benefits to milk testing. Even if you're not on test, I would recommend getting a scale of some sort. They have digital scales, they have these type scales, so that you can monitor what your goats are milking just for your records, your peace of mind, and you can tell if there's something wrong with the doe, the milk will go down. And when they first freshen, you can kind of see how much they're milking, and it will, change during the year, but stress will cause it to go down, but also sicknesses and things. So it's good to be able to monitor the milk, and even as one of the signals to tell when a doe is in heat. Like the doe that got bred today, Miss Kitty, her milk was down about a half a pound, which is probably because she was in heat today. So if it can give you a sign that the doe is coming into heat if her milk starts to drop down. So anyway, I hope this was understandable and kind of give you a little insight into what milk testing is. There is a lot more to it, but this kind of give you an idea on what we do, and this is something we do every month. Cindy will be back in 12 hours, do a second test, and then she'll send all that out. I'll pay her and pay the lab, and all that gets sent off, and we'll do it again next month. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you like our videos. Click the like button for us, and we appreciate you subscribing to our channel. And I will talk to you next time. You have a great day.